Rich, I received an email from Ryan Egan, the one that you're going to interview with some more materials that he's gonna go over tonight. I didn't get it till I was here, but it doesn't matter. He said he printed them out for everybody. I'm just giving you a heads up, okay?
Still outside, he's waiting in the scratch, so.
Oh, sure.
Just for documentation, just
Okay.
that'll help
Cool.
if I get everyone to submit it. Hello. When you have a chance, you can wait until after we do the presentation, but just for documentation, we'd like you and the other select board members to sign.
Sure. I'll sign it now, sure.
Yeah, feel free to pass it to Sarah and Beth when they.
There you go. Thank you. And do you want to sign in too?
I'll sign in on yours,
Okay,
yes.
all right, yes.
This is just for documentation for,
Charlotte too.
okay.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, birthday.
Yeah, birthday.
Yeah, I worked in San Diego, buses back in working back in Massachusetts. I grew up here, it was in the Lincoln Park and. I go up. Couldn't wait to get home because it was.
You know,
I can't read. So not. I'm more visual, kind of a learning. What? That's changed mine.
No, it's okay.
We'll just put it back.
It's just a long conversation. I'm getting to it.
And more obviously.
Thank you.
I imagine not.
I'm gonna put that on there. I'm gonna put on.
Zero.
Yeah.
We had 7 at max. Yeah, they'll be back. They're just people watching. We're not live, but we're not broadcasting audio or video, but I am broadcasting a little screen that says meeting postponed to 7 p.m. So people are watching that.
Okay.
Oh God. All right.
Yeah. Which is the same as county. Yeah. Okay. I remember that now, yeah. Yeah. That's my friend. He was going to having a fusion done college. Oh, yeah, we do county. Oh, yeah, they do that. Yes. And they do it by town. It's very. We can. Yeah, so frankly, really, I think they're a model of how they, really build services for their, you guys actually talked to them about procurement stuff just last week. Really, from this Hardee's. But, take a phone and say, hey, how do they want to jump on the salt trader? Makes it very.
I'm gonna write a really exciting article.
I watched the other.
That too. What do you think?
I thought the first guy to do whatever they wanted. The whole planning staff and all the things, 119 people. 119. Shiny structure does. Wow. What's house? Well, I bet. They just had, they had a rat space, they had the money, it was. Administrator there. It's really cool to work with me. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Um,
You
but.
kidding, not your fault.
I asked for
Challenging.
a couple of requests, like I did, like, press it in the paper, and she was like. Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a reason. That's the reference.
Yeah.
That's the law here.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
You just have, you can just ask for it and get it.
Yeah,
But
whole
she was
point.
angry because the resident said, you know, I'll let it be editor. That kind of action, like, that was not included.
Yeah, you are.
Or-
Came first,
Didn't send it.
when the other, both candidates went for an
So
interview.
if they don't send it in the letter to the editor,
You're not gonna get it.
it can't be put in, because that would be unethical.
Right.
But that would make it seem like they're trying to defend what the other person. So if they want their letter to be, probably has to send it.
Right.
It's a request, otherwise it doesn't.
Yep.
That stinks.
If she doesn't respond with me and I ask for a record, then that's also against the law.
Yeah, yeah.
If there's enough, otherwise.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
I find it funny that she's. Thank you.
Okay.
We have them for.
Oh, yeah, that's good, but yeah, you have one in your packet already.
Would you like a handout?
Oh, yeah, sure. Not,
This is just a copy of our
Yeah,
presentation.
I have,
so-
I
Okay.
read it, thank you. Yeah, you put it in the packet.
Okay. Well, awesome. So we have a couple copies of the presentation if you want to. We've got to,
They're in the packets, you already have copies in the packet.
thank you.
Ones people want to pick.
Oh, you want that? Okay.
Give them at the town hall in case somebody wants. it.
Yeah,
Give them like
absolutely,
Chief
we
Blanchard
will,
and,
yeah.
Martel.
hey, Jeff, can you hear us all right?
Yep.
Cool.
I just screwed your thing up.
Just so you know, Jeff, you are unmuted.
Okay, did you hear me say I just screwed the thing up? Is that what you heard?
No, but we did now.
We do now. You're nice and
Okay.
clear now.
All these damn buttons to try to push. Huh?
Okay, thank you. All right, you ready? You ready?
You ready, Beth?
Sure.
Yep.
You ready? Good evening. Welcome to the Brookfield Select Board meeting for Wednesday, August 5th, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the Brookfield Police Station Meeting Room. This is a joint meeting with the Board of Assessors. Not the Board of Health. To join via Teams, it's inevery.com/brk-sb. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting will be live streamed and recorded. No members are participating remotely. Signed warrants fiscal year 2026-02 accounts payable in the amount of $219,866.48. Fiscal year 2026-2 payroll in the amount of $160,991.94. And fiscal year 2026-2 withholding for $82,812.80. We're going to take kind of things out of order. So we'll do number 7, presentation of the hazard mitigation plan.
It may be bright.
You know what? Lights off?
Yeah, we're gonna.
Lights off. Oh, I see it.
You guys are.
That's right.
Hey, you want one of these chairs back?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having us here. My name is Charlotte Levitt. I am an associate resiliency planner with the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission, joined here by my colleague Will Talbot, who's also an associate resiliency planner. And we are here to present on the draft plan for the Town of Brookfield's hazard mitigation plan. So for some context, why is Brookfield completing this plan? Any municipality that adopts and updates their hazard mitigation plan does become eligible for various FEMA pre-disaster and post-fire hazard mitigation grants. The plan will meet FEMA's requirements and will help the town to make good use of its resources. And Brookfield's last HMP update was approved in 2018, but did expire in 2023 as these plans run on a 5-year basis. Essentially, the plan is for mitigating projected future natural disasters and other hazards. Essentially, it is about what Brookfield can do now and in the future to reduce any risks from natural disasters and other hazards. Essentially, acting before a disaster can save the town money. So what are these natural hazards that we're talking about? So the plan will cover flooding, which includes changes in groundwater, severe snowstorms, ice storms, and nor'easters, hurricanes, severe thunderstorms, wind and tornadoes, wildfires and brush fires, earthquakes, dam failure, drought, which includes changes in groundwater as well, extreme temperatures, invasive species, and then there is an other hazards category, which includes landslides. And to be clear, this is not an emergency response plan. Instead, it is a plan, a proactive plan for what the town can do before these natural hazards occur to reduce risk. So what is hazard mitigation? Essentially, hazard mitigation is permanently reducing or preventing losses of life, injuries, or damages to property by using long-term strategies. We ask throughout this hazard mitigation planning process, what preventative actions are being taken now to reduce future risks and future damages, and then what additional actions can be taken in the future. I'll put a graphic up on the screen in a second, but it is from the National Institute of Building Sciences Natural Hazard Mitigation Saves Report. And essentially it shows that between $3 and $7 is saved for each dollar spent on mitigation activities related to a variety of natural hazards. And so risk here occurs in a cycle. It'll start with disaster and then a response and then recovery and then another disaster. And this is very common in a lot of communities. But proactive planning and implementation of hazard mitigation measures can help to break this cycle. Acting to mitigate any of these anticipated risks before the disaster occurs can save lives and can help for communities to become more resilient. So we use 4 tools in hazard mitigation. The first is structure and infrastructure projects, then preparedness, coordination, and response actions, education and awareness programs, and local plans and regulations. And I'll provide some examples of each of these. So under structure and infrastructure projects, a lot of these can be projects that will prevent floodwaters from reaching properties, building structures to control water flow, maintaining, repairing, and updating culverts, dams, storm drainage facilities, and pumping facilities. The next is preparedness, coordination, and response actions. Some examples of these actions can be compliance in the national flood. The National Flood Insurance Program. Sorry, I didn't want any evacuation planning, the community rating system, adoption of the community rating system, and then also facilitating and coordinating any municipal administration, enforcement, and collaboration. The third pillar of this is education and awareness. So some examples of these are websites dedicated to natural hazard awareness, providing information about natural hazards at schools or libraries or other public buildings, mailing out brochures to residents that could be on things such as the safe operation of home generators, and then also public outreach at community events. And then the 4th pillar of this is local plans and regulations. So examples of these action items involve planning and zoning measures, subdivision and site plans, floodplain regulations, wetlands bylaws, stormwater regulations, the building code, master plans, and municipal vulnerability preparedness, or MVP plans. So what went into the planning process? Essentially, CMRPC will provide technical assistance to the town for plan development. The town will coordinate its efforts through the local hazard mitigation planning team. The team in CMRPC will put together a public survey. In Brookfield's case, the public survey was open from October 2024 to January 2025. The next step is the public presentation, which is what's happening here tonight during the plan development. And then the next step after this will be submitting the draft plan to MEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency, and then submitting to FEMA for further review, revision, and approval. And we anticipate these steps to take place in the fall and into early winter. And then the final step will be plan adoption by the select board, which the timeline for that is hopefully sometime this winter. So in the development of the plan, CMRPC assisted the Brookfield Local Hazard Mitigation Planning Team to identify and map critical facilities and locally identified hazard areas, identify and review existing mitigation measures, identify and prioritize new mitigation strategies, and gathered feedback and input from the public. I will now pass it off to my colleague, Will, who will dive a little bit deeper into these steps.
Thank you, Charlotte. So for the identification of critical facilities, CMRPC worked with the town to update a database and GIS maps of critical facilities and infrastructure in town. These critical facilities and infrastructure sites included emergency response facilities, which includes fire department, emergency operations, and police department facilities, communications facilities, highway department facilities, primary evacuation routes, as well as bridges in town. They're often part of evacuation routes. Also included in this inventory of critical infrastructure includes water supply sites, as well as town facilities and utilities. Another important category of critical facilities is dams. And then the last group of critical facilities identified were facilities and populations to protect, which includes housing for seniors and folks with disabilities, schools and daycares in town, as well as historic buildings and sites. So for the hazard identification, we use state and federal data, including from the Massachusetts State Hazard Mitigation Plan. And we also coordinated with the local hazard mitigation planning team in town to get local information on hazard areas as well as on potential future developments. And these hazards we looked at included geologic, wind, flooding, and snow hazards. Some examples of data we used to inform the hazards section of the plan included earthquakes data from the Western Observatory at Boston College, and hurricane, flooding, and snow disaster data from FEMA. The disaster noted as DR 4780 /MA was the flooding event that caused significant damage in Leominster in September 2023. So for a list of select locally identified hazard areas, so these were some of the hazard areas that were identified as part of this planning process. They include for flooding, Rice Corner Cross Road, Quabog Street, north of Quabog Pond, the Herbert Road Pump Station, and Long Hill Road at some Salmon Brook. For the snow drifting hazard, sites that were identified were Route 148 over the Quabog River, Hobbs Ave and Quabog Street, Mitchell Hill Road, Molasses Hill Road, and Dresser Hill Road.
We don't have a Dresser Hill Road in Brookfield.
Okay, we'll definitely note that.
Okay.
For beaver issues, we noted Town Farm Road and West Brookfield Road. And then for invasive species, we noted Blackcomquesset Pond and Quabog. So the public survey, as Charlotte mentioned earlier, was open from October 2024 through January 2025. We received 49 total responses. The hazards of greatest concern were snowstorms and thunderstorms, as noted by the survey respondents. And the survey was promoted through the town website and a Facebook ad that CMRPC put out. There are several existing mitigation measures which help the town reduce its risk of natural hazards, some of which cover multiple hazards, while others cover singular hazards such as flooding, dam failure, severe wind, and winter storms. Some of these multi-hazard existing protection measures included the town's comprehensive emergency management plan, compliance with the state building code, education and outreach, the Blackboard Connect hazard warning system and notifications, and plans, regulations, and studies of various types. For flooding, some of the existing mitigation measures included compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, roadway treatments, drainage preventative practices to reduce clogging, and subdivision rules and regulations, as well as zoning regulations. Some of the existing mitigation measures for dam failures include DCR dam safety regulations, as well as monitoring dams to make sure they're keeping in good shape. For wind-related hazards, the tree trimming program is an existing mitigation measure. For winter hazards, the salting and sanding of roads and plowing and snow removal is in our existing mitigation measures. And then for wildfires and brush fires, permits for outdoor burning are a mitigation measure. So when coming up with mitigation strategies for this Brookfield Hazard Mitigation Plan, the local HMP team in town and CMRPC staff asked, where are the gaps in the town's current strategy for mitigating natural hazard? What actions will further reduce vulnerability to natural hazards in town? And what should the town's priorities be for mitigating these hazards? Some select high priority mitigation measures. So this is not an exhaustive list. There are other high priority as well as medium and lower priority measures in the plan, but just some that we want to highlight here. Include locating and identifying using GPS all catch basins, drainage infrastructure, culverts, and bridges in town. Investigating sheltering and emergency resources and developing a town emergency shelter, partly through identifying a site for this emergency shelter. Developing and enhancing working relationships with utility companies, and ensuring spaces within the community for a temporary emergency headquarters, and investigating the benefits and requirements of FEMA's community rating system, which is under the National Flood Insurance Program, and to decide whether to participate in this program or not. So in regards to plan approval and adoption, after the conclusion of the public comment period, which is open now, and incorporating any changes to the plan after this public comment period as the local HMP team in town and CMRPC agrees on. We will send the plan to MEMA, and MEMA will review the plan. Then MEMA will either forward the plan to FEMA or ask for revisions. Once any revisions from MEMA are made, the plan will be sent to FEMA, who will review the plan, and FEMA is also the agency who will issue conditional approval for the plan. FEMA may also provide required revisions that we can work with the town on. Once FEMA deems the plan approvable pending adoption, a select board resolution to adopt the plan should occur. And we're happy to coordinate with the town regarding the adoption resolution and the adoption vote. FEMA is the agency to issue final plan approval as well. And as Charlotte said earlier, the plan will be in effect for 5 years. So just a few words on how to implement hazard mitigation plan. We found that it's helpful for towns to establish a local implementation group whose first task will be to prepare a timeline for the implementation of the plan. There are timeline measures for each of the strategies included in the plan. Notably, those timeline are how long it will take from when those strategies start, so it'll be up to prioritize which strategies to get started on first. It'll be up, this kind of the timeline that this point is talking about. The town should integrate the plan's recommendations into other local plans and policies, and should review the plan as new plans and policies in town are being adopted. The town, as Charlotte said earlier, is now eligible to seek FEMA and other funding sources for plan mitigation measures. The town can also consider other resolutions to plan mitigation strategies. It is recommended that the town meet at least yearly to review the progress on plan implementation. And the town should prepare for updating the plan in 5 years to remain eligible for FEMA grant funding. So as a final note, the full draft plan is currently available on the Brookfield town website, and we have opened a 2-week public comment period on the plan for before we submit it to MEMA, which will conclude on Monday, August 17th. Please send any comments or questions about the plan that you have to Charlotte at clevitt@cmrpc.org. And we do have some maps from the plan on future slides, or on the last few slides, that we can review. And if you all have any questions, we're happy to answer. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
I
you.
have a quick question. Do you help in any funding of the beaver control with the dams that we have? We have an ongoing problem that's regularly, and we could use some funding with control of the beaver. So how would we How would we ask for that?
So, I actually have had some discussions with another town in the region who has similar issues with beavers. And it could be an option to seek funding from the MVP Action Grant Program under the Environment and Climate One Stop or Eco One Stop. That may, it's a rather expansive program that kind of funds innovative projects. So something related to beaver mitigation may be eligible, and it could be worth putting an expression of interest.
Okay.
And I know there's also, if it's a project that relates to hard infrastructure, the FEMA brick program, it used to be a little bit more expansive, and it really is focusing on specific infrastructural actions. But if there's a specific area you'd like some work to be done with for an infrastructure project related to beavers, that could be an option, the brick program. And CMRPC has worked on both MVP Action and brick applications before. And then also, if there's concerns about not necessarily beaver dams, but man-made dams in town, the town can work to update the hazard mitigation plan at any time, even after this plan's adopted, to become eligible for the FEMA High Hazard Potential Dams Program, if there are any higher significant hazard dams in town. And then if the town wanted to apply for a project for a man-made dam and didn't want to go through that additional requirements to become eligible for that federal program, there is the state dam removal and replacement program, which is also through the Eco One Stop.
One stop grants come out in the spring, right? For the the expressions of interest and all due.
The expressions of interest, we heard from the state that they're gonna be opening up in September.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and then usually the grants will be due sometime in March or mid-spring.
Okay, yeah, great.
Do you have the dam at the Elm Hill Farm property on this? To be on the north end of Brookfield? Is that North Brookfield or Brookfield? I know our old reservoir was up there. Do you know
It's
about?
technically across the North Brookfield line.
Oh, it is, okay,
We don't actually own it anymore.
okay.
It's,
I just didn't know if it was on here because all the spillway comes right into Brookfield and,
yeah, so to the best of my knowledge, the property was sold, and while I believe the dam remains intact, I believe it was open and drained. I don't know, I've been up there in a
Yeah.
couple of years, so,
Yeah.
I mean, once we sold the property, I didn't have any reason, and
okay,
there's some challenges with access to the property,
right,
so.
okay.
It's always a challenge there.
Yeah,
Isn't there?
there is always a challenge.
Oh my God.
What's the name of this dam so we can look into it?
I wish I had a better, Beth, do you know? I just
I should
refer
know,
to it
but
as
it's-
Elm Hill, but
It should-
it's,
Well,
it's
it's
not.
not. the Elm Hill Dam, and
it's,
I should know, but the minute somebody asked me, I don't remember now, but
it was the old Brookfield, water reservoir at one time.
let me look at my email.
Yeah. We have there's in the critical infrastructure section of the plan, we list out all of the dams that we're aware of in town, so we can check that and.
Cooley Hill, it's Cooley
Yeah.
Hill, that was the Cooley Hill Dam.
Reservoir, yeah.
So I managed to figure it out before I actually did the search. Proud of myself.
Other questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you all very much. We really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank
you. Thank
Sorry,
you for
it's really
coming
dark in here.
Like this.
Yeah.
I think so. Ooh, bright light.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you, thank you
for your time.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Does that AC, does it shut off or is it?
It does.
I know it was cold in here and now it's hot.
I brought my coat just in case.
Yeah, it was freezing and now I'm sweating. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely, are you?
Waterfall.
I still want to talk about last.
You have any few presentations? Maybe the mitigations, purchase.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
No problem.
All right, we ready to move on?
Yep.
Number 4, bell tower masonry.
I did not
Not have an update on it.
I failed
reached out-
totally to get quotes.
Well, I reached out to, Mark Szymanski and we've not spoken, so you need a
Okay.
little more time.
Okay. All right, number 5, approve Weston and Sampson invoice number 260700102 and number 260700985.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 6, request to use town common, Brookfield Congregational Church, blessing of animals.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I just have a question for Karen. Karen, what's the date?
It's on it.
I didn't look in that thing.
Oh, it's right here. It's October 24th
Yeah.
from 10:30 to 11:30.
Oh, okay. Not till October.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dennis, number 2, did we talk about that?
we haven't talked about it yet.
Okay.
No,
She skipped.
I skipped. I
That's
feel like
cool.
it's gonna be a little, I don't know, lengthy
No
maybe, I
worries.
don't know. And then, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, back to number 2. Authorize town administrator Blythe Robinson to phone screen / do initial interviews for highway operator and highway superintendent. Okay. You wanna start, Beth? You asked for it, right?
Yeah. I think it was because I saw resumes were coming in and we didn't really have an appropriate agreed upon means to action them. So, and I know some of the candidates that are coming in under the various jobs are probably not qualified for the jobs they're coming in under. And in some instances, they may be. I would just like to give Blythe the authority to at least screen the resumes, call people, identify what their level of interest is, align their resume or their experience to the job that's the best fit, and then bring some recommendations back to the board.
I would like to see a highway committee put together so that it's handle it with people that have extensive knowledge of the highway. I did speak to Bruce Clark today, and I intended to reach out to a couple others, but Bruce did say that he'd be willing to serve on a committee to staff the highway department. I intend to reach out to Herb Chafee and Donald Herbert as well. So I think it's important that if we can get the previous highway department down there to come together to help the town
Do
out.
you want me to
that
reach
would
out
be-
to Don Taft and see if he's willing to come back? Because he was a very effective chair.
Well, you're welcome to do that, but I'm hoping to get the actual workers that were there, that were in place when we had a really strong highway department. And if we can do that, I think that's gonna give us our best success. We could put it on the agenda for next week and if we'll accept some letters of interest. And if Don puts a letter in, absolutely, but if we could get Donald Herbert, Herb Chafee and Bruce Clark on there, I think it would be a win-win. Because
Okay.
under that staff, we had a great highway department.
What do you want,
Good.
what do you want to do about highway operator? You want to do both?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to, I don't, I mean, my thought would be is to at least start moving the process along to verify one interest to, I know they can do resume screens as well, but at least the people will get a first contact.
Yeah, my thing was I just wanted to leave the posting up for a little bit longer. That was my only comment. Whatever the two of you want to do. I mean, I'm not
And I'm not,
opposed to
yeah, and I'm
either
not,
or.
and
Yeah.
I'm not against restanding up the highway, steering committee because I never wanted it to be disbanded. So, and I thought it was a poor move at the time, but
So I think my perspective is just to get it so we can hire some staff and have those individuals do the screening.
So you want to do like a highway search committee?
Yeah.
Highway,
So that committee would do what that,
The screening.
no, I don't need to do that.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
So,
I did pull out from Karen, the list from last year. I don't know if there are any candidates that might be worth another look if they're still available. We have a list, we have resumes from the previous search. I'm not sure if there's anything worthwhile, but might be worth a phone call to some of them if there are, just to see what their status is.
Karen, are we meeting Tuesday or Wednesday? Next week?
We're meeting on next week is
Thursday,
Thursday,
Thursday.
yes.
at
So can
noon,
we,
a remote meeting.
That's the noon remote meeting. I don't know if you want to do anything more with that,
Yeah.
for that one.
well, I think if we put a committee together and
Okay.
put it on the agenda for that, and then if we get letters of interest, I think that's my preference.
I don't know, whatever you guys want to do. What do you want to do?
I already told you what I wanted. I want to get started and at least make sure that we're contacting people professionally and appropriately in response to them submitting resumes. Right? The longer people sit in a hopper, the less likely they are to still be available or for you to know whether or not you've got a pool. That's my opinion, right? And yeah, I explicitly said phone screens and initial interviews because then if you want the final recommendation to come from the committee, by then we'll have it set up. But then we're not waiting for a week to get the committee set up for them to then get a hold of the documentation, to then get a hold of the people, which to me just seems like we're dragging feet when there's a bunch of work that needs to get done.
The only question I have is, okay, next week we're gonna approve the charge, right?
Yeah, it's on the agenda. Yeah, we could approve the charge.
Then we're gonna have to let people apply, give them some time to actually apply.
Well, rather than ask them, I think we can expedite it by asking them to serve, like I did today with Bruce Clark.
Yes, but also
We could probably have that ready.
I'm not gonna
for-
say no to someone else too. Like, I'm not gonna just say yes to all three right off the bat, if that makes sense. If we have other people, then I think we should consider them.
So I think Beth and I could approach multiple people and get letters of interest to have it ready for Thursday. Do you have time to do that, Beth?
I mean, I'll make time to do it, but I still stand by that I would prefer not to wait another week and change to even have people in place to review what we have coming in. So I think we've waited long enough. I think for a while we weren't even getting applicants. We have a few applicants. Let's not, I mean, historically, we haven't been great about contacting people right away when we receive resumes and doing the screening. I think it's a habit we need to get out of as an organization, personally.
I'm good with Blythe doing the interviews initially, but I would like the recommendation to come from a highway committee or highway search committee versus any of us.
That's fine. I just don't like the possibility, and this is not really gonna happen, but what happens if somebody at one gay road just had highway experience and wanted to get on the committee? I'm not willing to just say yes, say yes to all three without giving everybody a fair chance to apply. I feel like it should be open to everyone, not just the three of them or multiple people that you two pick.
The only reason I say it is I remember when Brookfield had a really strong highway department that could handle any task. And if we could put those members on a committee to replace our highway department,
I get that.
Situation.
I'm not saying that they wouldn't be a good choice. I'm not saying anything. I just think that we should give everybody an open shot to apply. And that's my only comment.
Well, what are you gonna do if you get someone that works in a,
Then that's a conversation we can have. I just think that you
All right.
shouldn't pre-say yes.
okay,
We have another meeting on the 19th, so we're not gonna, if we take some action on the 13th and then we have a meeting the following Wednesday, we can finalize. In the meantime, I can limit it to phone screens and then just be turning over to the committee.
Sure.
Yep.
Notes about them all, so they can have that to get going with,
sure,
without any suggestions of my opinion. Just
Sure.
that.
I'm good with that.
We have four. If anyone has any experience with the last search that can help me with the pile we already have to maybe weed out some candidates, that would be great. And I'm happy to pick up the phone and see if they're still interested.
Great.
Actually, there was very comprehensive notes from the highway committee that was in place at the time. I may still have them in my email.
Oh, great. Perfect. Thank you.
So, because I think a couple of them, they noted that they would be better for an operator or a foreman role versus the superintendent role. We had a lot of folks that were trying to
Since we have
punch above their
multiple to
class.
fill, I think it's worth
Exactly.
digging a little deeper.
Yep.
All right. We all set?
All right.
All right.
You didn't take a vote to allow her to.
All right.
Screen and one.
Well, I thought we did we have a motion in a second?
No, there wasn't even a motion.
So I move that we have, Blythe Robinson, phone screen, whatever available candidate pool we have for the various open highway positions.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there's 5 minutes, but Ryan, are you ready now? All right, town administrator candidate interview, Ryan Egan.
Evening. Susan, how are you?
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you. These are the 90-day plans. that-
Hello, Ryan, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Hey, Ryan, nice to meet you.
So just to start off, that is the 90-day plan that I emailed earlier today. It includes a potential budget schedule on the back, as well as all of my application documents that you can use.
Okay.
All right. Ready? Yep. You ready? You want to start?
Sure. All right, Ryan, I'll ask the first question. So please introduce yourself and tell us what your skills and experience that you would bring to Brookfield as a town administrator and how that sets you apart from the other applicants.
Sure. So good evening again. My name's Ryan. I'm the candidate for the town administrator position. And I just want to say a fair warning when Jeff Clark was talking at the select board meeting a few weeks ago about that there are some talkers on the finalist list. I can be self-aware to know that that was probably about me. So just feel free to flag me down if you want me to stop.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
So as you can see on my resume, I've been a town councilor in the town of Randolph for the last going on 10 years. I've been the president of the body since January, so just going on 9 months. And in addition to that, I also actively work in municipal government full time. I'm currently the executive aide, which is the chief of staff equivalent to the mayor of Gardner. I've served under 4 or 5 other mayors, both in management roles and specialty roles like communications and economic development. I started in municipal government in high school. I started in the health department, and that's where I sort of found my passion for it. It's where I'll retire. It's where I want to be. That's where my sort of commitment and dedication is professionally for the next, probably 30 years. And so, and to add on to that, what I've done and to ensure that I'm the best, whatever, my position is at the time. I've done the MMA finance seminar, MMA HR seminar. I got accepted into the management seminar certificate program that I'll be taking in the fall, actually in Palmer, a few communities over. And
See you there.
yes, oh, will you be there?
Yeah.
Oh, great, awesome. Yeah, and then I actually would have completed my MCPPO tonight, but I rescheduled the classes to do the interview, which was obviously more important. So I'll have that upon hire by the first week of September. So, I mean, that's a little bit about my professional background. I think at the end of the day, Brookfield and I are kind of in the same place. I'm mid career, if you will, or just after beginning of career, where I have enough experience, but I still have the energy and I'm not jaded yet, if you will. So, I am very much looking for a small community to be in a management role, to set down roots, to invest. Mayor's offices have been great because it's allowed me to build a skill set that I'm very interested in and learn a tremendous amount and actually, work tangibly on, all the items that are in the job description here. But I really want to transition over to a town form of government in a contracted role where I can spend, 3 to 5 to 10 years investing somewhere. So that's my version of keeping it. Thank you.
That works.
Number 2, one of the challenges of working in a small community is limited resources and staff. Please describe your approach to the position. Understanding your duties include a wide range of responsibilities, such as acting as the CFO, procurement, HR, oversight of departments, liaison with elected and appointed boards, in addition to your work for the select board.
Yeah, no, so I think I'll speak to it with my chief of staff experience mainly. Those are the duties that I have every day. The mayor is a very high level in most communities, even in Gardner, which is probably the smallest community I've worked in under a mayor. And even there, the mayor is sort of high level. The chief of staff or mayor's office staff is doing the work day to day. So whether it's HR, whether it's procurement, whether it's finances, I have done it all. And in the morning you start with one thing, at the end of the day you end with another, and in between, God knows what happens. But I want to be in a small community, and I want somewhere where I'm not the assistant town manager for God knows what in a community that has, an HR staff and a huge procurement staff. I want to really do the work myself alongside board and committees, the select board, and, the professional staff that we have. I have built a skill set, and I'm very interested in really being hands-on. So that's why this particular role spoke to me, because through the job description, obviously, it's kind of you have to be a jack of all trades. And that's really what a chief of staff and the mayor's staff does. So I think that probably.
Yeah.
So as you heard, because I think you were in the room for a chunk of the discussion, the town's actively recruiting for a new highway superintendent and currently has just one employee in the department. Realizing that winter is not too far away, how would you work to support the department and ensure that the town is ready to carry out its functions as soon as possible?
Sure. It's a great question, because winter isn't always that far away. But
Never that far away. Winter's coming.
Storms
The
possible.
winter's coming.
So, I mean, I have to say that as the town administrator, whether we have, whether the position's vacant, whether the position's interim, whether the position is full-time and staffed, we're always going to be ready for the storm. If I'm your town administrator, we're always going to be ready for the snow. That is just something that comes along with any town administrator or assistant town administrator job, is planning for nor'easters and snow events. And, you have to do that prior to, regardless if you're fully staffed in DPW or not. So, and personally, I'm very hands-on. If there's a snowstorm here, I'm here for it. and here for operations on the town side in the office, out in the community, making sure that things are actually getting done on some of the plow trucks. Whatever needs to get done, I'm here for it. I'm not going to be sitting at home, drinking my tea, wondering if Brookfield's okay. This is a 24/7 job. And obviously though that the highway superintendent and the staffing issue needs to be resolved as soon as possible. I think I think there needs to be an overall effort to better recruitment and retention. I think that's, you guys are in a great financial position, but I think some of the bigger issues lie around personnel. And as it, relates to recruitment, I think, some of the things I didn't see on job descriptions were benefits, union involvement, whether folks are in a union or not, or other items that somebody would be looking for if they're coming from another community and wanted to really say, I want to make the switch and I want to make the leap. I think once we've streamlined job descriptions and put as much information in there as we can to really give a candidate as much information to make that decision before they even apply, because it's a small world and everyone will find out that you apply in another community, which can, be okay for some people, but it can be very detrimental to others. But once we do that, you have to do active recruiting. You have to do, I've negotiated, I think it was 7 unions in Marlboro all at once in 2024, 3 DPW unions. I won't tell you how how it went because it went fine, but union negotiations are an animal of their own. But one of the things that we did because we had the resources to do so was in order to recruit and retain staff was pay for licenses like CDLs or other specialty licenses for DPW staff, because those are often some of the most hardest working staff, but they're also some of the more underpaid staff. And compensation is a huge one. I know that you guys did a compensation study in 2019. Those things can always be refreshed, especially as the economy moves so fast through different things. So, I think you're going to need to get creative with recruitment, whether it's actively poaching people, pulling in, I'm active in municipal government circles. I could name 3 people off the top of my head that I know have just recently retired in DPW. And if we really needed someone, I could make a call. Not promising they're going to say yes. But we have to get creative to make sure that the services at the end of the day get delivered.
All right. All right. Describe your approach to working with your select board in terms of effective communication. And do you have any particular strategies or guidelines for promoting effectiveness of the elected board?
Sure. So as you'll see in the 90-day plan, I do speak to communication with the select board. One of the biggest things that I've struggled with as a town council over the last 10 years is not getting information. It's always been a point of contention for me. I'm not looking as a town councilor, as the legislative body, to get involved in the day-to-day, unless I have a role in it or need to. That's why we hire professional staff, and I don't want to micromanage. I'm not a micromanager in general, and I want to know my role as well. But at the end of the day, you also need to know what's going on in your community. As a town councilor, I shouldn't be finding out about things, nor should you as a select board member, on Facebook or through the rumor mill. So I think it starts at weekly board reports. I think that's going to be huge. And the weekly board reports could be informal on off weeks, and then more formal at select board meetings on those weeks, and they'll all be in written form. Obviously, we'll have to handle personnel issues one-on-one because we can't put that in a weekly report. Emergency communications and heads up communications, I think, are sort of in the same category, in the sense that if there's an emergency, if there's a fire, if there's, God forbid, a shooting, if there's a water main break, you need to know immediately. That department head should be flowing through the town administrator, who should immediately assess the facts and get it to you. heads up notifications, non-emergencies, things that shouldn't wait for a weekly report, or you may not want to find out on a weekly report, may want a one-on-one conversation. This department had just abruptly resigned. That's something you're not going to want to find out 3 days later. So that's a call to you, that's an email. However, sort of individual board members would like that. I mean, if it's a heads up, I would send out an email, but always there to touch base. But it's really a question, and I would love to hear it from you guys at the end as well, what you expect from communication. Because again, this is a 24/7 job, and if you're looking to sort of transition all of the items in the job description, because I think they're a little all over the place in terms of like HRs with the treasurer right now, and responsibilities are sort of spread out. If you're looking to consolidate that, I think that communication and expectations are going to be huge.
Well, just a little follow-up to that, something that I've experienced while being here and having a couple different town administrators. One is threading the needle and not doing the serial communications to violate the open meeting law,
Right, yeah.
but also keeping us involved. And typically, what I think would be a great strategy was Beth, Sarah, and I bring all different things to the table. So rather than you chasing your tail on something to do with the highway department, if you don't have something, give me a call. If you're looking for a new computer system, reach out to Beth or Sarah. But to use us at our strong points,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And I've seen in the past where one member or another has not been in good communication with the town administrator. So I feel like it would be your job to reach out and keep that going so that you're not chasing your tail, because we bring a lot of knowledge, and rather than you just chase your tail around and figure out what's going on, I think you just reach out to us.
Yeah, I mean, I view the town administrator and select board role as a collaborative partnership, not as a, you only check in with me and I only check in with you every once in a while and we're sort of on separate pages. We're working and we're rowing together. And part of what I put in the 90-day plan was shared goals. I mean, most towns, that have a town administrator, or at least a centralized town administrator, do shared goals at the beginning of the calendar fiscal year. And I think that's important, even if they're 5 to 10 simple goals, they're important. So we're all rowing in the same direction. As it relates to the open meeting law, I mean, I can talk to you each individually, one-on-one, short about pretty much anything short of polling you. I can't, how do you feel about this? So, Beth feels this way, and, how are we going into it? Short of that, I mean, we can talk back and forth. And that's really, I think, where a small town like this benefits from a town administrator. I mean, several ways, but, you can't talk to one-on-one under the open meeting law, substantially. So, routing everything through the town administrator, I think is huge. And one of the things that I did in January when I took over as president, and we're kind of the same in Randolph, where we have sort of factions, if you will. So imagine there's just three of you, and three of you. And so there's just more to manage, but there's a lot of different viewpoints, people coming from different places. And I sat down with every single counselor individually in December or January. And I talked to them about shared goals. What do you want to do? It was very informal. We didn't write anything down. But where do you want to be as a member? What do you want to see? And I've kept that constant communication, and talked to most of them on the weekends prior to our Monday meetings about, and again, we respect the open meeting law in terms of talking about where people are going to land on issues, but just talking through things they don't understand. I don't like going into meetings without everybody knowing, all of the facts. Where they want to stand on something is where you want to stand on something, but I want you to go into a meeting as informed as you can.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah.
Number 5. Brookfield has been managed by dedicated volunteers throughout its history until establishing the town administrator role a few years ago. In some cases, the responsibilities assigned to the TA by job description are still carried out by others. How would you approach shifting that work to your position while still utilizing and valuing volunteers? I used the example yesterday of the finance director, Lori, who you met, the town accountant. She took over as finance director and kind of got us through the budget, make sure that we were good, asked the department heads, reach out to them, went to the advisory committee meetings. So eventually we would kind of like that to go back to the town administrator.
Sure. Well, that's great to hear, because I think that, aside from authority, I think that centralized sort of oversight and responsibility from the executive, no matter how big or small the town is central to its success. I heard you earlier talking about a highway committee, and I know that, small towns, and even mid-sized towns rely on and encourage civic engagement through boards, because you sort of get a pulse of the community that way. The downside to that is it does slow things down a little bit, but if you have somebody at the top who's energetic and can manage it and sort of understands, municipal government and how everything works going into it, it makes for an easier process. So I personally, if the select board is willing to help centralize, and is interested in centralizing the authorities, HR, and all the things that were in, procurement, all the items that were in the job description, I think that not only would I be in favor of that, but the first thing we need to do is assess exactly where everything stands. Some of the job descriptions that I saw online said that, this position or X position reports to the select board. But, then in the job description of the town administrator says, oversees all personnel. So, and I know that, the water commissioners, oversee their own sort of, have their own jurisdiction. So it's assessing where everything lies, where the select board wants to go after that. And once we've assessed that, where do we all on the same page want to go? Now, where does Ryan want to go? I'm happy to give you my recommendations, but it's your town at the end of the day. And, the caveat I would put on that is we want to make sure we're centralizing authorities for efficiency, but we want to make sure that we're keeping civic engagement alive. One of the things that we saw in Randolph when we changed our form of government in 2010 from select board to council manager, was that there was a dip in community engagement. There's a big turnover, sort of a legacy turnover in Randolph of residents, which kind of had a hand in that. But I think ultimately it was because we got rid of town meeting and it helped centralize and make things more efficient internally, but it sort of shut out folks on boards and commissions a little bit. So I would be very cognizant of that as we do this and go through that process to make sure we're keeping folks engaged, because I think that's incredibly important in a smaller town.
Okay. So everyone jokes about my favorite question. So please describe a time when you made what seemed like a good decision or took what you thought was a good approach to something and it went sideways. How'd you recover? What'd you learn from it? And what impact, if any, did it have on your future approaches to similar situations?
That is a good question, and I believe I have a good answer. When I took over as chief of staff in 2024 with Mayor Dumas in Marlborough, he had just gotten elected. He was a first-time mayor. He's a city councilor for a few years. So the responsibility was very much on me to help move the office forward, help them understand how everything sort of operates. And I've worked in that exact office before, in the executive assistant position under the chief of staff, under a different mayor. And so one of the things I saw in the executive assistant position was that we need another body in this office. It's a two-person office plus the mayor. And again, mayor's high level. Mayor's not like day-to-day doing reports and Excel spreadsheets, that's the staff. And for that size community, we need another body. Anyways, one of the things we did at the beginning was ask for another body. And, we wanted a communications director. We kind of narrowly focused on communications is a big priority of the mayor. Let's do communications director. And honestly, I think we put together a great proposal. I did all the comps. The mayor did at least 2 presentations to the city council. I'm not sure that we were going to get that position regardless of what we did, but I think that we went in with it with sort of like rose-colored glasses in the sense that we know what this office needs. We're working very fast. It's all new, and, we were kind of like, city council, great, you're gonna approve this, and they were like, stopped us in our tracks, and it kind of set the tone, not necessarily like a cloud over us, but it kind of set the tone that it wasn't going to be as easy with the city council. Maybe we should have waited a little bit to sort of, or changed our focus, I think is what we saw in retrospect on how we presented it, or what we presented, or what we called it. So it had good intentions. I still think it should have gone through, and it was still needed in a community that size. But it put us in a weird situation with the city council out of the gate, and I don't know that we could have anticipated that. But looking back on it, we probably could have tweaked it a little bit to make it less, make sure that they didn't look at it so negatively, I guess, is a way to put it. It's hard to describe the politics of
No, but well, basically what you've got is an executive and a council where the first act of the council is tell the executive, hell no, we won't go. So yeah,
that kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
And we didn't expect it to be that much of a sort of a fight. And we kind of fought for it, and maybe we shouldn't have fought that hard and sort of read the tea leaves. But we knew we needed it. So we did what we did, and we learned from it. And we rebounded, but we
All right. So sometimes we hear frustration from residents that local government should be running more like a business in terms of being cost effective, particularly when tax base is almost solely residential. Please share any strategies or programs you've managed or would propose to work in this direction.
Sure. So I think that the two big obvious answers are economic development and grants. In a community like Randolph, grants are great, but they don't really move the needle. In a community like Gardner or Brookfield, they do. $250,000 grant is going to go a long way in Brookfield, may not go a long way in Randolph with other revenue sources that we have. So I know that you have I believe it's part-time grant writer on staff. So obviously you've seen the value in that. I've worked extensively in almost every mayor's office I've worked in on grants, applying, managing, executing, and that's something I put in the plan as well, because there are so many grants out there, and Community One Stop, if you're familiar with it, has just a cadre of grants that all come out at the same time. For at least 3 communities, I've coordinated our one-stop sort of attack plan, because every community always tries to be competitive, and a lot of those are competitive. Some of them actually aren't. And it's good to know, I've worked a lot with some folks at the state to try and find out which ones are competitive, which ones aren't, where are our priorities, and how should we align them. But I think the third thing that doesn't get mentioned a lot is legislative earmarks. And those are often just as much, if not more in amount than grants. You'll get through congressional direct spending, you'll get one request for that, and maybe 1 or 2 other things on the federal bond bill. But at the state level, you'll get, annual legislative earmarks that you can put in for. You can get them in the bond bills, transportation, economic development. So honestly, I think that focus needs to be on earmarks just as much as grants. I've done earmarks in several communities and managed them. And it's often they're less restrictive than grants as well. Some of the times they can go beyond a specific fiscal year, or at least go beyond 1 fiscal year or 1 calendar year. They can be extended. We did that several times in Marlboro. We actually in Marlboro, there was a dog park project that the city council was kind of still upset at us and wouldn't give us money for the dog park project that we wanted to put forward, but we already had ARPA funds for it. So what we did is the council didn't want to approve free cash, so we went to our legislator, who was high up in leadership, and so we got a good amount in earmarks, and we got a good chunk from that earmark that took off what the town had to appropriate. And I found another account through the meals tax that we put all of our recreation improvement money in when we were allowed to do that. So that's how we ended up getting it to fruition without sort of appropriation from the city council through free cash. But I honestly think that earmarks are one of the biggest ways to go as it relates to run like a business. I think that's something that a lot of residents around the state and different communities want to see one way or the other, because I think they view business as very sort of tight belt and efficient. And I think that those are things we want to and attributes we want our town government to have. But at the same time, businesses don't have to be open about their finances or open about their operations. Government should. So I think we should operate from a fiscal standpoint like a business. If we're going to add something to the budget, we should find a way to sort of make it revenue neutral as possible based off of needs. But at the same time, we need to recognize that sometimes we need to spend a little more. I mean, you're $400,000 under the levy limit right now, which is fantastic for a small community. And I can tell that it's a fiscally responsible community that really wants to operate like a business. And finding money outside will help us do that. So, all right.
Number 8, why are you interested in working for our community? If you were chosen, what type of commitment are you willing to make in terms of how long you would work for the town of Brookfield?
Yeah, that's a great question. And since you're sort of blunt about how long do you want to work here, I'll give you a blunt answer. I'm looking to settle down and put down roots in a community. You can do a 3-year contract, at least a 3-year contract, which I would be looking for. And I'll give 110%. You can do extensions if you do, I don't know how you created the town administrator position, whether it was under 23A or 108N, or you just sort of created it. But you can do extensions, and I would even be willing to do some, 1-year extensions beyond that, because I really want to put down roots and prove to you that I want to be here, and I'm not going to be calling you tomorrow if you offer the job saying, hey, great, I just used it to get more money at my other, place, or I'm, applying here or there. I want to be in a small community. I wouldn't be at this stage of the interview here if I didn't want to be in Brookfield. And as it relates to my commitment day to day, I mean, the job comes first. I'm a young professional, and I'm sort of in the prime of my career where I have good experience, but I still have that energy, and I want to invest. If there's town events, I'm going to be here. If there's a snow event, I'm going to be here. This is my profession. I'm not coming in from the private sector and doing a little tour and maybe going back to the private sector. My success is your success, and your success is my success. If I leave here in 5 to 10 years, then it's going to be for another municipality. And I want to make sure that I'm leaving you on great terms, because it's going to reflect on me as much as I want to do a good job for you. So you're going to get 110% for me, and I'm willing to give it. And I also, a lot of folks, not to generalize, my age tend to ask about working from home. I believe 100% that this job as the leader of the community needs to be done in person. You need to show up. You need to not just show up to the office, but show up to different departments and, provide support and morale. And, that's what I did as chief of staff. One of the things that I heard when I was the executive assistant in Marlborough was that, the higher up folks never come down and visit us. So when I was chief of staff under a different mayor, I would go, and I told the interview committee this, I would make it a point every week to try and visit, as many departments as I could for sort of an informal check-in. How are we doing? I had the authority that the mayor gave me, other than that, I had no authority. So I was sort of the buffer in between, like, I really want to complain about the mayor today, or I really have this cool project or program that I want to present. How do you think would be best to do that to the mayor? I think it needs to be an in-person position and completely invested.
Good answer.
Thank you. Good question.
So
Number 9, is it you?
I think it's me. So do you have any questions? This is where we turn it back over to you, right? So do you have any questions you'd like to ask us about the position, the community, or the next steps in the hiring process?
I do. You kind of hit on one of my questions, which I guess I'll start with because you asked it. Can you individually sort of give your view on how, if you would like the town administrator position centralized with all of those duties that were in the job description? I'm assuming by putting the job description out, you probably want to. But I'd love to hear, if that's the case, how you see going about doing that. And what support you think needs to be given both to town administrator and staff to be able to accomplish that.
I personally would like to see you take each and every job description, bring it to our attention, make a recommendation, and then have us vote on how to move forward. That would be my position. But I would like you to initiate it. Because frankly, I don't have any more time to give to sit and do that. Right? So.
I think the intent was always to have that more centralized form relative to the town administrator. I think the challenge that we had very early on is one, a lot of the job descriptions, that's legacy issues where it still says it reports to the select board because they were written and reviewed last time prior to us ever having a town administrator.
Right.
So some of that's an editing artifact for all intents and purposes. Though I think some of it also remains because as a community still, I would say relatively new to having a town administrator. I think there was like this transitional period where people weren't necessarily comfortable with the concept that the department head should functionally be reporting to a town administrator and that the select board needed to truly be a strategic and policy board.
Sure.
Right. So I think we're probably far enough along that road that making that transition clarified in our documentation is probably both overdue and at least at a point where there's not going to be a lot of headwinds to doing it that way. So, but that would be my take on it for what it's worth. And I've been around for most of the rodeo that has been getting a town administrator and trying to grow up a town administrator and all of that. So.
Okay, so I'm an executive assistant for another town, so I kind of do the day-to-day for my selectmen. So I kind of want that to be the role of the town administrator and of course with our current executive assistant. But I want them to do the day-to-day, I want them to be involved. Sometimes I don't see my selectmen until we're at a meeting, and I don't hear from them. But they're still getting emails from me. They're still getting updates from the town administrator. We're communicating, but not necessarily they're communicating, but that's okay. That's my take. I kind of am definitely 100% on the communication. I feel like we've kind of lacked it a little bit. And Blythe has done a good job with her weekly reports and kind of trying to keep us all involved, but not involved at the same time. So I kind of want to keep that going. That's just my opinion, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from everything that I've researched and seen and watched, it seems like, there was that sort of transitional period as there, would be with the town administrator or manager, just getting one for the first time. It's been a few years now. I think you've been through three. So, but I know it's been some short stints the last few, and I think that the big item here is stability, and I think I want to get across that I want to be here, and I think you can't centralize operations if I'm going to be here for a year and leave, whether that's me or somebody else, and I think that's huge, and I think especially if you start to convince the community, just informally or through a bylaw or whatever it is, that this is the step we want to go and we want to start to centralize things, and then boom, somebody disappears. So I think that's tough, and I can understand why you're in the situation you are, given that. So.
All right. All right. So the last question: do you have any closing remarks that you would like to make?
Yeah, I do have one more question. I mean, I have tons of questions, but I'll keep you here all night. So. What does success look like to you as it relates to this position and us, going along together in 6 months or a year? What does that look like materially? Should have sent them to you.
You wanna go first? Or you want me to-
I was gonna offer to let you go first.
What about me, guys? Thanks.
I was gonna offer to let anyone go first.
So, taking on the role as town administrator, as I see it, is working with each and every department, not only elected, but appointed, and getting things ready for the annual town meeting, and the most amount of communication that we can do is key. It's paramount. So for you to have the meetings weekly, but not only weekly, but on a daily basis, just in passing, going to see the town clerk, maybe you swing by and see the assessor or the tax collector or the town accountant's in, you just kind of come in and say, hey, what's up today? And like, communication is the key. And the more that you can do that and achieve that and be open to the public as well as the employees, I think everything else kind of falls in place if you, right? Because no matter who leaves here tomorrow, this place is still going to run one way or another, right? But you'd be the glue that holds it together. That's my kind of simple thought.
You wanna go?
It's up to you.
Yeah, go.
Okay. I think it's twofold, right? I think Rich is correct in saying that a lot of it is the day to day. But I think one of the things that we've been stymied by is by not having stability in either the town administrator role or in some of our other departments. It's made anything that even vaguely resembles strategic planning for the community and development planning for the community and coordination of the projects that we manage to get funded by hook and by crook, right? It doesn't allow for having the planning in place.
Right.
Even if we kind of know what direction we want to go,
Yeah.
A lot of times we wind up getting lost in the day to day right now, and that can't happen, and it's not healthy for the community. So, having somebody to handle the day to day, but keep like some percentage of their time fenced for those more strategic targets and for more of that development and, you know, no matter how much you want to keep a particular character to a community, change is inevitable. But and I tell people this at work is change is inevitable. Whether change happens to you or you create it is the decision you get to make every day, right? A lot of our change has happened to us. I'd like to see us in a position where the change we have is created by the community, by those opinions, by those inputs from people throughout the community, and to do it methodically and not reactively. So. Jeff has horrible background buzz from his equipment. Oh, he's in there twice is the problem.
Yeah.
So.
And I would just say, I agree with the both of them, day to day, and also what Beth said, but I've learned something recently that no is an answer, and you can say no, and you can say no to the three of us and each of us. And I just want, I guess, to have the reasons why you're saying no. But you can say no to a resident or say no, but give a good reason as to why. I feel like you don't have to say yes to everyone and to everything every day. And if you're busy, you can say come back at a different time or tell one of us, see you later. Like, I can't talk right now. I feel like getting absorbed in the also having like an open door policy, but also, like I said, still saying no. And I feel like in the past, some town administrators have gotten absorbed into the open door policy.
And I mean, I told the committee, I have no problem saying no. I'm not a yes man. Who knows me? You know, if as it relates to the select board, it would be more of a here's my opinion rather than a no. As it relates to department heads, residents, consultants, whomever, you know, if I'm given the authority to make a decision and the select board's aware of it, I have no problem saying no. Most of the time, the answer's probably going to be no, but there can be a no, but, you know,
Yeah.
and it's how you approach it. It's how you respond to it. And I think that's hugely important, especially, and you see it a lot around the budget, where department heads come in and, you know, I want the new cruisers and I want this and I want that. And, you know, that's great. And that's where planning comes in, because if we need those things, you know, we can plan for them. But it may be not this year. That's a no, but it's how do we build into it?
No,
And
but.
how do we get there? That gets back to the planning about, you know, you this whole business is in a town is completely compartmentalized, but it's all, you know,
Interconnected.
interconnected. Thank you. And, you know, we can't go for an earmark, if we don't have the time to apply for one, but what are we doing? What are we doing for the earmark? We can't do it three days beforehand. You know, there needs to be, and, you know, if we do it 3 days beforehand and it's actually something we could have used this bucket of money for, should have used this bucket of money for, then we just wasted time, money, and energy and staff. And so there needs to be that element of planning to all of this, especially where town meeting is once a year, and that's your shot to get things through. You know, you have free cash that's certified, and it's gonna lapse July 1st. So you got to make sure that you have that capital plan in place to make sure you're and make sure you know what you can handle on capital based off of what costs are looking like, you know, your fixed costs, health insurance, pension, but also, you know, what you're going to need in those costs that you don't necessarily budget for all the time, like overtime and snow and ice and things that you know are going to end up coming out of free cash. So you know, if you get $1 million, which has been sort of your you know, average for the last few years, you know, you're really at 650 because, you know, you're planning for overtime and snow and ice, right? So if you don't plan, there's no success, and it's constant reacting and not being proactive. And
Good.
You good? You good?
All set.
Are you good, Ryan?
I'm great. I think I'm gonna shut up now. I'm gonna take Herman's advice and keep it. Somebody told me keep it simple, stupid to myself. So that's what I'm gonna do. So thank you very much for tonight. I appreciate all the work you put in. I mean, I even saw you at the budget hearing with Jeff, and I believe it was Tom. And you know, obviously everybody has been putting in so much time, and I'm sure you don't see it because it's behind the scenes and not on TV. But thank you this is an extremely important position for the town, obviously, and for the town's future. So thank you for putting in the time, and thank you for allowing me to be a finalist. It was great to come before you. And same thing goes for the interview committee, or you know, are all volunteering their time to do it as well. So. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet
Thank you. All right.
All right, you just want to take like a 5-minute recess?
Sure.
Sure.
Jeff?
Sorry? What's this question, Peter?
Just posted agenda.
We had a little, low.
He's gonna be discussing anything more about the
For
data
Patty.
administrator? It's on the agenda, so.
I mean, she's gonna be back next week
Okay.
for a little bit of overlap with, Eric. But, I was just saying, we had, Lois made a cake today for Patty. We all had lunch together and we worked hard and
Nice.
That's great.
wished her well, and I think she's feeling good about the transition. I think she's feeling good about Eric, so that's.
Yeah.
Number 8, discussable and possible action, town administrator appointment.
I'd like to take an opportunity to thank two of the members that are here and one that's on the computer for the good work they did for bringing 3 great candidates. I think it's gonna be, a tough choice for me. And I don't think I'm, personally, I don't think I'm ready to make that decision tonight, but, I'd like to at least sleep on this because we've had 3 strong candidates that all bring a little different, well, a little different, but kind of the same to the table. I'd like to know what you guys want to do. Are you ready to move tonight, or are we gonna sleep on this?
I don't know, what do you want to do? Are you ready? Do you have a decision?
So I have a recommendation. I don't know how y'all will feel about this, right? Um, First I do want to also commend the committee because I think we would be hard pressed to make a bad decision if we made a decision tonight. So let me start there. Okay, I think we have 3 really strong candidates in front of us.
Yeah.
And my recommendation was going to be for us to rank order our personal picks tonight and see if we had consensus on a first pick and then potentially down select from there.
Okay.
That was going to be my recommendation.
So
Right.
not necessarily pick, but just get an idea of our
Yeah,
what order.
almost like a straw poll of from a standpoint of like what our personal ranking would be for it, and then if we're not ready to make a decision tonight, we can at least have the conversation about why we may have rank ordered the people where we put them, and then we can take those opinions back with us if we are not ready to make a decision tonight.
Okay.
I hate to be the cog in the wheel, but I don't think I'm ready to make, I don't think I'm ready to make.
To
my
rate 'em?
first- Yeah, I'm not. Me personally, I'm not. You guys are welcome to, but I'm personally not ready to rank them. I need some time to digest from last night to today.
I'd just like to say one thing. I don't think it'll color your decision, but just because Peter and I were here tonight with Ryan doesn't mean that we are supporting Ryan versus Jeff being here the other night, so.
No, Jeff
We
was
have the
Jeff was clear
same
on that
feeling.
with this. Yeah,
We have the same feeling.
Jeff was clear on that with regards to that when he attended last night in person.
I mean, I can talk about some of the things that I think are pros and cons, but I don't know that I'm ready to rate my decision.
Yeah, if I could just add one short comment. The fact that the committee presented, originally the 4 without ranking them meant that we had a very difficult time. I'm not sure, I still haven't made a decision truthfully, so, Rich, I mean, I agree with you as far as every time I hear one of them speak, I get more nuances about how they would approach the job. So my opinion is concentrated, and sure Peter and Kermit, as they listen, are having, well, they didn't hear the ones last night, but I think everyone did a very professional presentation. Each one has their good and bad points, and just summarize what I was thinking, just hearing the 2 of them as they went through your questions, is that 2 of them made a firm commitment to, like, I want to live in town. I have a 3-year, I want a 3-year contract. And the other one was I still thinking about it. So that to me, is one area where you might be able to differentiate. But otherwise, experience is certainly in one place, the first favors the others, but they all have great ideas. They all present a plan. So, God bless you guys for making the decision. I still know how to do it. So thank you.
I don't know. If you're not ready to rank, then I don't want to make you rush it, but I don't want to wait too long.
Agreed.
We do have this, I don't know if you're available, Rich, on next Thursday, when we were gonna have to join election, I know you were gonna recuse yourself, but that's a planned meeting at noon that day. It was gonna be remote. That,
But for the decision, it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't hurt to be remote. I
no,
agree
it's
with
fine.
you.
No,
Just saying
I'm-
that's the
I'm-
next thing we have on the
yeah,
docket.
no,
We
that's
can
fine.
certainly change and make one sooner if you prefer. If all of you would prefer.
I'm available to meet next Tuesday night if that,
I have a
but
meeting.
I'm also, I can attend by Zoom on Thursday. And I'd be willing to talk about it then as well.
I have a meeting Tuesday night. We can do
Thursday.
Thursday
Agenda, Thursday.
Yeah.
at 12. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Should be. This is usually, I can usually.
Yeah, we have the Board of Health thing already. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we picked it because it was already good that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd even be willing to meet for a short time before our meeting on Monday. We have a meeting on Monday. We could start a little early. I think by Monday it'd be a pretty quick
It's
meeting
true.
for this
You can do
decision.
that.
What's today? Wednesday. Yeah, she can add it.
Yeah, you can add it to the agenda.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
Thursday.
so you
Yeah.
can add to Monday's agenda.
Add it Monday.
Want to start early because it's set for 7 now.
I think 6:45 would, I think by Monday,
Okay.
Yeah.
But is that good with you guys?
I'll make it work.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was also, in thinking about this, I also wondered if we included the committee and put the 8 of us decision to the decision versus just the 3. But I mean, I guess we just make the decision, but I'm good with it either way. I think they're all strong candidates, so.
I'll just make one more, sorry. Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Just one other thing, I have a little bit more from phone conversations, if you have a particular issue that is troubling, or you didn't quite get an answer, I might have the answer, I don't know, but that's the only thing I would offer, otherwise, I'm not gonna say one way or the other, but, they are very talkative, and they were a little bit more personal over the phone. As you can see with Ryan, I mean, he kept us like half an hour over our normal time, like giving us more examples and talking more. But so I do have maybe a little bit more information if there's something particular that you feel that you didn't quite get the right response to. So I'd be happy to volunteer that, but otherwise, as a committee, we're okay.
Did finances come up during the interviews?
Somebody was in the post.
I
I know it was posted, but I just wanted to know if it was discussed.
no.
Any questions?
Okay.
Never came up.
No, offline. And I gotta give backstory on Charlie. We've been tough to reach him to originally set up the interview. And so when I did, I followed up after he I think Mike had tried and it didn't result. I said, damn, let me call him again. And when I talked to him, I sort of had to get him to find out why he was applying for the job, given his, again, background and everything else, why a small town was he was mayor of Braintree, etc. And so he told me a little bit about his private sector job and this, that, and the other thing. And I said, well, look, we can't, he was looking for something that was more than what the salary was, and maybe a shorter contract to try it out. And I said, look, this is what we think, as far as the salary, we're not going any higher than that. Maybe we're flexible on the contract. Again, I just was trying to get him to come in. I wasn't making any promises. And I said, the reason that after we talked, the reason he was applying was because he wanted a challenge for, a smaller town. He wanted to get back into it. He told me a little bit about some of the other stuff he's been doing. And so I said, we're not going to talk about this during the committee interview, but if you are, offered the job, then that's when you negotiate whatever you're gonna do. I don't wanna know anything about it. But I can tell you that we don't have the budget for anything more than what we had put in there as far as the top number. So I think he came back knowing that. So I don't anticipate that he would want anything different than what's there, because that's what the stated situation is. And I emphasize that very clearly to him going into the interview process. And again, when I talked to him after, he said, look, we want to recommend you to the select board. Are you okay with that? Are you still interested? He said, yes, I'm very interested now. So that was the only discussion that anyone, even none of the other three candidates at that point brought up anything about the salary. So again, I'm just giving that to you. I don't think that should prejudice you one way or the other. If you think Charlie's the right candidate, then offer them and see what he says. But again, that is the only information as far as salary that was brought up.
Monday, 6:45. We good?
Monday, 6:45.
Monday, 6:45.
Do you want anyone to be in touch with the candidates in terms of what the next
I
steps
think
are?
it'd be nice to.
Let them know
Let
that
'em know.
that we're all on the fence and
Yeah.
that it's
Yeah.
gonna take us a minute to make a
Yeah,
decision.
I'll work out that with Karen and figure out who calls.
Hi.
I just think it'd be nice to let them know where things
Sure.
are at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we're still very interested.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.